What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Desai Guys Football Forum. I am one of your co-hosts, I'm Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Desai Guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, we are just churning right along here. We are now into week 11. We've said this many times already, but the slimmings are just getting
so bad.
So much harder to pick up off the waiver wire as we go along. It's just getting so much tougher. And there's actually two, fantasy-related teams are on a bye week, so it's actually going to be hard to replace some of these players. You got the Broncos on a bye week this coming week, and the Rams. I know a lot of people have a lot of Rams players, obviously, with Stafford and Cooper Kupp.
Now I actually have two because I traded for OBJ last week.
There you go. See, so Odell Beckham Jr. as well.
I have Stafford and Odell on my team.
Darrell Henderson has been pretty good. On the Broncos side, obviously, there's Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant.
He's been pretty solid.
Denver defense, Rams defense for that matter. So there's a lot of good players that are going to be on a bye week this week. So, yeah, you really need to pay attention to the waiver wire. It's going to be tough to pick up some players. But, yeah, me and Tad have a couple each here at the couple of the key positions. We also going to spend some time a little bit on the tight ends and kickers and defense like we usually do, sort of wrap that all into one big package there at the very end. But, yeah, we're going to start with the quarterback position here first. Tad, who do you like in Week 11 for the quarterback position on the waiver wire?
I feel like I'm in a time machine. You ready for this? I like Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, it's
we're
interesting.
Back to 2015. It's really weird, but I like him. It's weird to say. That might have been my favorite moment from this entire weekend. Is just that rushing score he had on the second drive of the game because they forced a Colt McCoy turnover to get that close to the goal line. But, he got in the end zone. I was very hyped about that. And he took off his helmet. I was just like, yes, do it. He just gets right in the camera's face going, I'm back. And it reminded me, I put this out on Twitter, it reminded me of the scene in Independence Day when the guy's flying into the ship. He was like, hello, boys. I'm back. It had that same vibe. So, overall, great moment. On top of that, then, he later threw for yet another touchdown to Robbie Anderson, which I know the throw was a little behind him, but it was on the run. It was a kind of crowded area. It was a pretty good, accurate throw. I mean, clearly it was a touchdown. So I really like what I'm seeing out of Cam Newton. I'm shocked he played at all this last weekend. I really thought he was just going to ride the bench, and they were going to go, you know what, good or bad, we're just going to see what we have in P.J. Walker. Look, I'm not taking anything away from P.J. Walker. I love the XFL. I was a huge fan of that guy when he was going to be the unquestioned MVP of that league before freaking COVID shut it down. But I think P.J. Walker's a good quarterback, but he's a solid backup. I'd be very happy with him as my backup, but not as my starter. So from the Charlotte Observer is what I believe the local paper is called, Cam Newton is going to be taking all the snaps this week as if he was their number one guy, their starter. So I think he will probably have the start unless he gets hurt, which is still a very good possibility. I hope that doesn't happen, but that's still a good possibility that will happen just from the way he plays and from the way Carolina is clearly going to use him. They are not shy. They're not. And here's what the Patriots' mistake was. And we talked about this last season. They shied away from making him a runner, that was the problem. That's the best part of his game. Carolina is not going to shy away from that, which is smart but also risky. Because, he's up there in age. He has all these injury problems. So, yes, there's a little bit of risk here. But I'd like him going forward for at least the next 3 weeks. Because this next week he plays a Washington defense that, admittedly, is coming off a fantastic performance against a very loaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Or offense, excuse me. With that said, I feel like I've said this 3 or 4 times so far this season, is those fluke games are going to have – you're going to get one of those fluke games every single week. I think that was just this weekend's weird fluke game, especially considering Chase Young is out for the season with a torn ACL. First off, that sucks because Chase Young is so much fun to watch. He is the next Myles Garrett. This dude is just purely unstoppable. So I hate the fact that he's out. However, if I'm looking at this from a fantasy perspective, now I like every quarterback going up against that Washington defense because I really do think he did a lot more for that defense than people realize at the defensive end position. So, bottom line is I really like Cam Newton against Washington. The next 2 teams they play are Miami, who I know has been hot, but they're still vulnerable. And then after that, they play Atlanta. So, the next 3 matchups for Cam Newton, looking pretty good. And you got to remember, like I said, Carolina's clearly not going to shy away from, rushing the ball with him. So not only could he get you those passing touchdowns, which in most formats get you those 4 points, he is a pretty good shot to get you those rushing touchdowns, which, again, in most formats, 6 points. So even if he has a bad game, if he gets 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns, all of a sudden he's a pretty solid starter for you.
Honestly, this is actually very reminiscent of the team that went to the Super Bowl in 2015, where they play exceptional defense. They have Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully he stays healthy, and he plays really well, obviously. Then you have Cam Newton, who's sort of just leading it all along the way as well. So I think at this point, you can't rely on Cam Newton as much. But, you rely on that young defense. That's how they were able to put up such great points against Arizona last week. Cam Newton did enough, and obviously P.J. Walker was, the quote-unquote starter of that game, right? But, if Cam Newton's going to be a starter for the rest of the season, I think they're going to let him be the starter the rest of the season. Capitalize on the fact that it's like they have a good, young, hungry defense. If Cam Newton's just smart enough to obviously lead this offense, not make any bad turnovers the way Sam Darnold was, then it's like, hey, that's good enough for this offense because the defense is playing so well. And if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, then it's like that's going to be the focal point of their offense. That'll get them into the playoffs. That'll hopefully make them win a game possibly. But it's like Cam Newton's not the long-term answer, past this season, but it should help them at least get to the playoffs and at least sort of like cement Matt Rule is like, okay, get him off the hot seat sort of thing, right? Because there are question marks there where it's like, okay, what the hell's going on here, but
you can't fire Matt Rule now.
I understand that.
Wrong. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong that there are those rumors that are, maybe catching on a little bit.
Yeah, so especially like you said, with 3 potentially good games that Cam Newton's going to be going against favorable opponents, this could really help the Panthers catapult themselves back into the playoff picture and make themselves a legitimate contender, especially with a nice homecoming with Cam Newton. So yeah, it's a really good pickup, especially when you need it on these couple of weeks with, more teams being on bye week still sort of thing. So great addition. I'm going back to a guy that I talked about, way back maybe in week 5, I believe, and that's Mac Jones. I mean, you look at this game.
I almost picked him, actually. I was considering making him Actually, I hate you for this because the reason I didn't pick him is because I need him for Stafford's bye week. So if any of my friends are listening to this podcast, don't take Mac Jones. This is a terrible pick by Amir.
So you look at that game last week against the Browns, and we're like, okay, the Browns are going to pull off the upset. The Patriots are dealing with some injuries. Damian Harris didn't play, and
Thank God no one told you to bet on that game. What an idiot that would be.
It was just, we thought it was going to be a lot closer of a game, and here comes the Patriots playing exceptional defense, and Mac Jones limiting the bad decisions, and, he played probably his best game as a pro in the NFL. He completed 19 passes on 23 attempts, which is 82.61 of a completion percentage, his highest in the season so far. Only 198 passing yards, but if your defense is playing that well, it doesn't matter how many passing yards you have. Threw 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's the big one right there. No interceptions, which is huge. And I think clearly this was a game that sort of solidified all the media was talking about. That's like, okay, this is the guy of the future. They're finally ready to move on from Brady for some of those people that were like, is this guy going to be the next guy? Well, so far it's looking like that. So I think this is the guy. He really set himself apart there. Big thing for Jones, like I said, the defense is playing really, really well. They have a really good matchup against the Falcons on the short week on Thursday Night Football. In this, they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. New England has a point differential of 100 plus 100. And they have allowed less than 300 total yards in 3 of those 4 games on this winning streak. Falcons defense is not that great. They're allowing the 4th most passing touchdowns in the league.
Being very nice of
allowing the 4th most passing touchdowns in the league and have forced only 3 interceptions on defense, which is tied for 3rd worst. And you have to look at the fact that New England is not afraid to air it out. They're 9th in the most passing yards in the league. So on the short week, I think, they could ride that momentum and possibly go for win number 5 in this winning streak. And yeah, if you need a replacement for Matt Stafford, more likely, but possibly Teddy Bridgewater, I think Mac Jones is a very suitable replacement here in week 11. Really good addition.
For a replacement for Teddy Bridgewater, chances are you're screwed anyways.
So here's the huge thing too with Mac Jones. He's only rostered in 14% of ESPN leagues and 28% of Yahoo leagues. So this is a really great week to add him because he's both A, available, and B, he's got a great matchup on the short week against the Atlanta Falcons. So Mac Jones, go after him if you need a quarterback this week.
Is this not the most Patriots thing ever? Is they just wait. They don't do anything. They wait until the 15th pick, and now they might have the best quarterback come out of this draft.
Possibly.
I feel like Mark Ruffalo in that movie Spotlight when he's yelling like, they can't keep getting away with this, which was also ironically set in Boston. Like,
there you go. There's the tie-in again.
It is maddening. I was just like, but yes, anyways, I agree. Mac Jones looks really, really good. My only concern with him, I like him as a 1-week streamer. So if you're someone like me who you need to replace someone this upcoming week, I love it. But I don't love him as a season-long keeper because this is a bad sign for both Mac Jones and the Patriots in terms of playoff chances. They still have to play the Bills twice. And this is a Bills defense that picked off, and I know what I'm about to say doesn't sound impressive, but whenever you pick off someone 4 times, it's impressive, even if it is Mike White. God, I am so sorry, Jets fans. Good Lord, it must suck to be you. But, no, I absolutely love Mac Jones as a fantasy guy and as a future, quarterback for the Patriots. I really hate to say that, but yeah, no, I think he's the guy there, and we're gonna, say Mac Jones is so good. We are actually going to recommend more Patriots players in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that.
Very true. Very true. So, Tad, let's sort of get into the running backs here. Who do you like at the running back position for Week 11?
Look, he's a popular pick, so one of us had to take him. A.J. Dillon. He's going to be the guy that everyone's looking for.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. But, we got to talk about still is because here's actually why I like him, even once Aaron Jones comes back. So, for those of you who do not know, Aaron Jones suffered a sprained MCL, so he'll be out for at least 1 to 2 weeks because the Packers' bye week is up 2 weeks from now. So, the kind of timetable is, okay, I'd be shocked if Aaron Jones came back the week after next. Like, I think they're just going to sit him until that bye week.
It's a smarter decision.
Yeah.
It's a smarter decision.
So if I had a bet on it, I would guess that this is a starter for the next 2 weeks you have. So you got that. You have a starting running back that was doing pretty solid as a backup option on that Green Bay offense that when Aaron Rodgers is in is really, really good. So you have that going for him. But, I mean, like I said, first off, he's going against Minnesota next week. They're ranked 20th in fantasy football against the run. And then after that, he has the Rams. And, look, people, full disclosure, we're recording this right now during the Rams-49ers game. If you're watching this, this Rams defense is getting absolutely butchered by the ground game. So they are clearly at least vulnerable at times against the run. So it's not like a terrible matchup for A.J. Dillon. So all to say, I actually really like this because he's not like a – I'm trying to think of a comparison. He's not like a D'Ernest – there we go. D'Ernest Johnson, where as soon as Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb comes back, he's worthless, basically. He's not going – he'll get you 1 or 2 points at best. But even when Aaron Jones is in there, he's like a bad flex play at worst, which I know is like, wait, bad flex play? But, like, dude, if your flex is getting you 7 points and you're really hurting for a flex, you could do a lot worse. So that's my whole thing is, like, he is a solid depth piece even if Aaron Jones is in. So that's why I like him more than most. This guy's injured. He's the next man up. Like, at least he still has some value once the starter returns.
100%. I mean, you look at the touches, and it's surprisingly, Aaron Jones is still the lead back in this offense, but there's a reason that the Packers decided to draft A.J. Dillon in the second round last year.
Dumb.
Besides that, but it's like they wanted to get him more involved into the offense, and he's slowly getting more touches in this backfield. Mainly just as a runner, is not that much of a pass catcher for sure, but especially with Aaron Jones out, I think this is a very good chance for him to sort of take more control of that backfield and sort of prove that he could get more touches in that backfield for sure. So, yeah, I 100% agree with you that once Aaron Jones does come back, I still think if A.J. Dillon can sort of separate himself, in these 2 weeks that are coming here as the starter, I think he could definitely garner himself more touches in that backfield and, unfortunately take a little bit away from Aaron Jones' owner. So, now, he has value definitely once Aaron Jones comes back still, too.
And I'll fight you on a point you just said is actually guess how many receiving yards collectively he's had over the last 2 games.
Well, I know he had a huge catch last week.
Doesn't matter, still counts.
But yeah, I think he has somewhere around maybe 100, I'd say.
About 105.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a good receiving threat as well. So that's why I like him, is he does fit well in this offense. So I know I said they were dumb for drafting him, and they still were, but he does fit well.
No, for sure. So yeah, he does have value even once Aaron Jones returns. So my guy that I'm going to bring up as well is Rhamondre Stevenson. We talked about more Patriots to bring up. I'm going to bring him up here versus the Atlanta Falcons.
This close to picking him up.
Rostered in 29.1% of ESPN leagues and 32% of Yahoo leagues now. Against the Cleveland Browns, there's no Damian Harris. There was talk that possibly Rhamondre Stevenson also was going to miss the game. He was able to suit up, obviously, and, he was able to do some serious damage to the Cleveland Browns defense. He had a sensational game. He went for 100 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns, 20 rushes as well. So he was averaging 5 yards a carry. He was absolutely dynamic, and especially Cleveland Browns, who have a very good rushing defense. They have a top 5 rushing defense, and Rhamondre Stevenson to be able to do that is just showing that this Patriots offense is sort of, we hate to say it, but it's sort of going back to the way that they were when they had Tom Brady, where it's just like they have these guys that can sort of come in and, find their way to get carries. Everybody has their sort of selective role, and yeah, he was able to come in, fill in nicely for Damian Harris. So we mentioned this earlier, the Patriots are playing on the short week. They're playing Thursday against the Atlanta Falcons. Damian Harris is still in the concussion protocol, and he needs to clear that. It's trending that he could be cleared, but it's not guaranteed. So that's why this pickup is a little bit more, take it with a side of caution here, because yeah, if Damian Harris is healthy, he's absolutely going to eliminate all the value that Rhamondre Stevenson has, unfortunately. But if Damian Harris is out, definitely Stevenson can have another sensational game against the Atlanta Falcons rushing defense. They have a very middle-of-the-road defense. They're ranked 16th in rushing yards allowed, tied for the 7th in most rushing touchdowns allowed, and tied for 18th in most rushing yards per attempt allowed. So, yeah, I'm mentioning this guy because if Harris is out, he's an absolute steal. He's going to be a great addition to your lineup and a good play. But that's the thing, though. If Harris ends up being healthy, this guy has absolute no value. He may get a couple touches here and there, but it's like you're hoping for a home run play from him to get any sort of value. So yeah, make sure you're checking up on whether Damian Harris is healthy. It couldn't hurt to pick him up. If you're playing in a league where it doesn't cost you anything to pick him up, you don't have to spend any free agent money to go pick him up. You can just stash him on your bench. Go ahead and go pick him up. And if you find out that Damian Harris is going to play, doesn't hurt to just drop him then and pick up somebody else. So, it's obviously based on the league that you're in. But yeah, go pick up Rhamondre Stevenson if you can. If Damian Harris doesn't play, great play by Stevenson. But if Harris does play, go ahead, drop Stevenson, pick somebody else up.
So I disagree with you there that it doesn't hurt to go for him if you're not in a bidding free agency type of league that I'm in, for example. Which, by the way, is such a pain. I have $28 last me the rest of the season now with defense, whatever. But I honestly think, look, just wait until Thursday during the day until you can just pick him up immediately. Wait until that waiver period expires. This is a very nerdy comparison, but I'll say it anyways. Is the Spider-Man No Way Home second trailer is dropping tomorrow night. I know what time it's dropping. I will be at my computer ready to click on that link as soon as it pops up. Kind of the same deal. Just do that on Thursday for you because you're not as much of a nerd as I am. Not talking to you, Murd, talking to our audience because I know you are specifically avoiding trailers because you're actually a bigger nerd than I am when it comes to Spider-Man. But
so true.
Basically, all I mean is the second you get the alert, either way, be your computer on the go. So if you get the alert that Damian Harris is out, then, yeah, you got to be ready to jump on that because that is a very valuable pickup right there. But I don't think it's worth wasting a waiver, order pickup for that. I think there's some guys out there like an A.J. Dillon where I'd rather risk that. Even if I'm 9 or 10, I'm going, hopefully no one's paying attention. I still somehow wind up with him. I'd rather take that risk than go for Stevenson because at least, okay, I got nothing. But if you go for Stevenson, you got nothing and you wasted it when you could have spent that on a defense or something.
No, it's fair. It's fair. There's a lot of other guys that you sort of go after that have a little bit more value compared to Stevenson because, like I said, it's a very big question mark. If Harris plays, then it's a bad addition to your roster. But if he doesn't play, it's a great addition to your roster. So it's definitely a situation you want to monitor. But, yeah, I think I agree with Tad. That's like based on where you are in your waiver wire order, you may be better to address other positions and maybe Thursday, day of, find out exactly what's going on, and then you can add Stevenson to your roster. So let's move into the wide receiver position here, Tad. Who do you like in Week 11 at the wide receiver position?
No one.
Come on. Let's be somebody.
I mean, okay,
let's be one
fine.
guy.
If you're forcing my hand here, Jesus. All right, let's go for it. I will give you $5 for whatever you can tell me about this guy other than the team he's on. Jamal Agnew.
Plays for the Jaguars. He was their kick returner at one point.
He still is, actually.
Okay, he's the one who scored off of that field goal, I think in like week 2 or week 3.
Was that him?
I think so. I think so.
He was the kick 6 guy? Okay.
I believe so. But I could be wrong on that one.
This is what makes a good podcast, is hosts, educating each other. He's educating the educator. How about that? But, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend too long on him, but Jamal Agnew, long story short, basically he was what we've all been expecting / waiting for Laviska Shenault to turn into. So, for example, this last week you're going to look at, his stats, and you're going to go, is Tad insane? Which, first off, yes, but that's a separate issue. Because he had actually 0 catches on 5 targets, though. So he was targeted a lot. They just weren't able to do that. But he did have 80 yards rushing and a touchdown. So that's the whole thing. Is like he's kind of like their Swiss Army knife. Now that Etienne is at, now that, as if that didn't happen, 2 months ago. But basically, and that was this past weekend was his third 10-plus point performance in the last 4 weeks. So he has been consistent, but I think that 10 to 11 point range is kind of his ceiling. So if you're looking for some depth in that wide receiver range, especially if you're one of these insane people in a 14-man league that values receivers over running backs, just hypothetically speaking, I think if you're looking for depth there. By the way, I'm leading that league. I just want to shout that out with how much I complain about this, because the Murder lost this weekend. I won, so this is great. I'm pretty sure that puts me in the lead. But yeah, Jamal Agnew with the Jaguars. I don't know. That's my best pickup this week. But yeah, second place. You want to say something?
No, it's for sure that, Jamal Agnew sort of stepped in. It's very surprising that Laviska Shenault's not getting involved the way that we all anticipated.
It's Urban Meyer's an overrated coach or something.
Because, yeah, especially with the injuries that they had to their receiver cores, they obviously lost DJ Chark. They lost, I think they lost somebody else on that receiving core too that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's just like they've had to go in different directions. You obviously mentioned Travis. Yeah, I was about to say you obviously mentioned Etienne, but it's just like it's very surprising that when you drafted a guy like Laviska Shenault, well, I guess this regime didn't draft Laviska Shenault, but maybe they just saw something in Agnew. They're just like, I like this guy a little bit better. Sometimes quarterbacks, they find a rapport with a certain receiver and they just sort of want to go with them more. So it's like maybe Lawrence saw something in Agnew, was like, okay, let's, practice a little bit more. They get more reps together or whatever it is. It's just like, yeah, let's start going to Agnew a little bit more. So yeah, he's definitely been a lot more involved, definitely since the DJ Chark injury, because that only happened about a month ago. So yeah, it's a weird addition, but he's getting involved. And the thing is that they're playing the Niners next week, and the Niners played the Bears really well. Then they laid a dud against the Cardinals. Now they're playing the Rams really well. So there's a possibility that they'll lay a dud against the Jaguars, and it's a possibility that Agnew could have a good game. James Robinson could have a good game. Who knows? Trevor Lawrence could have a good game. So it's just the way the season is gone. Most seasons are like this, where it's just like it's hard to predict every single Sunday. It's just like something weird happens. So don't put it out of the ordinary if Agnew has a really great game against the Niners next week.
I wasn't laughing at you while you were talking. I was looking at the Jaguars injury report. God, what a sad team. Other than Chark, their 2 pass catchers on IR are Terry Godwin and James O'Shaughnessy. Am I saying that right?
O'Shaughnessy, okay. I think that's their tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, pass catchers. So those are their only 2 pass catchers other than Etienne and Chark on the IR.
Okay. So yeah, I think it was mainly just the DJ Chark injury that I think affected things a little bit there.
Good God.
So
when O'Shaughnessy is on your IR and you're like, that's actually kind of a big loss. You're like, oh God.
Well, I think that's why they traded for Dan Arnold too, because it was like, we lost O'Shaughnessy.
That's exactly what did it. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So I'm actually going with a guy who was a rookie last year and just didn't emerge, and then all of a sudden in the second year he's starting to get a little bit more involved, and that's Elijah Moore with the New York Jets. In 8 games this this season, Moore has had at least 6 targets in every single game except for 3. So in 5 of the 8 games that he's played in, he's gotten at least 6 targets. In his last 3 games alone, 20 targets, 16 receptions, 195 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he's slowly getting more involved in this offense. He's second on the Jets in receiving yards, second on the Jets in receiving targets, I should say, 4th in receiving yards, and 4th in receiving touchdowns. Zach Wilson apparently is possibly going to be healthy enough to play this weekend, but
that might be negative.
Even if he doesn't play, though, Mike White and Josh Johnson under center were getting this guy the ball. That's how he was able to score 2 touchdowns. Here's the thing, though. They are playing a very hot Miami defense this coming week, but you never know what could happen. Miami has allowed only 19 total points in the last 2 games, 576 total yards, and have recorded 6 total turnovers. They absolutely stunned the world when they upset the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night. Everybody was like, clean sweep, the Ravens are going to win this game, and the Dolphins defense, they just came at it, and they came at it really, really well, really limited that Baltimore offense. So now they're playing a Jets offense who is not as talented, but like I said, same thing that I was mentioning with the Jaguars, each team can sort of throw up a dud. We saw this with the Jaguars and the Bills, that was a weird game, and so it's you really don't know. And overall, on top of all that, even if the Dolphins dominate this game, garbage time. We're going to see this every single time. Garbage time.
I have Michael Carter rostered on my team, and I was just like, this was bust. This was a bust. This was a bust. And in the last 5 minutes of the game, he rocketed it up from 9 points to 17. I was like, I love this Jets team.
Exactly. So garbage time is prime time. So, they're probably going to be throwing it a lot. Over the last 3 games alone, the Jets are averaging 369 passing yards. So you have to think that they're going to be looking in Elijah Moore's direction. So really good addition if you need some wide receiver help. Like we mentioned, Cooper Kupp's on a bye week this week. You obviously got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick are all on a bye week this week. Odell Beckham Jr., obviously a new Ram, he's on a bye week this week. So rostered in only 38.1% of ESPN leagues and 51% of Yahoo leagues, surprisingly a little bit rostered, a little bit more there. But yeah, if he's available, he's not a bad addition to add because like we said, there's going to be some times towards the end of the game, they're going to have to air it out and they'll probably look a lot in Elijah Moore's direction. So Tad, we kind of talked about the quarterback, the running back, and the receiver. We like to sort of combine the tight ends, defense, and kickers. Who are a couple of guys that you like at a couple of these positions that would be a good addition to add?
It was funny because we were talking before the episode of I wasn't even going to give a tight end a shout-out. I just assumed that because Tyler Conklin, I know he's coming off a big week, but he's too inconsistent for me to really trust. So
it's true.
If you're really hurting for a tight end, go for Conklin, but just, buyer beware there. And then I decided to look it up because this is actually a player I just recently traded away. And I'm like, wait, the guy I traded to him dropped him? Why? And then I looked at his roster numbers and even bigger. I was like, why? It's Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
He's only rostered, and I say only, in 55% of ESPN leagues. Why? Guys, before this week, he is ranked as the 3rd best tight end in fantasy football. This week, he scored almost 18 points. Oh my God. If you are in that 45% where he is there, go for him now. That is unbelievable that someone at top 3 in their position group at this point in the season is available on that many waiver wires. I won't read you off his stats. Yes, he is touchdown dependent. It doesn't matter because they always score touchdowns, and whenever they're in the red zone, they're looking at Hunter Henry's way. If he's available in your league and you need a tight end, go for Hunter Henry. I just make that your top waiver priority. That's just insane to me that someone doing this well, this consistently is still out there. Also, thank you, Jeremy, for trading me or for letting me give him to you for you just to drop him. That just makes my trade look so much better.
Very true. It's still surprising that he's still available in a lot of leagues. I don't have that many great additions. Yeah, I don't have that many great additions this week. I'm going to suggest Gerald Everett. He had a season-high 8 targets against the Packers. Could be in line for more targets in the future as well with Russell Wilson back. They play the Cardinals this week. He's rostered in only 3.4% of ESPN leagues and 20% of Yahoo leagues, so, he is out there. But, yeah, it is a bit of a dart throw. And then another type of dart throw, lottery ticket type of player, CJ Azama. Every so often he has one of those games, and part part of me just thinks he's going to hit it this week coming off the bye week playing the Raiders, rostered in only 17% of ESPN leagues and 21% of Yahoo leagues. So purely a gut feeling on CJ Uzomah, but Gerald Everett, maybe with those targets, he could get involved a little bit, possibly could get some good yardage, some receptions, maybe even a score.
Hey, with Uzomah, it's all about that Dirty Harry kind of thing. If you're feeling lucky, punk, go for it.
Exactly. So kickers and defense, Tad, you got any?
Defense, I really like the New Orleans Saints. They did pretty well against the Broncos, and while I'm a little concerned about their chances going up against going next week, I do like their next two matchups are against the Giants and the Jets. So I like the Saints defense going forward a little bit, but I actually like your pick for defense a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, we kind of talked about this earlier with the Elijah Moore bit there. The Dolphins defense, they've been playing sensational the past couple of weeks, and they get to play the Jets offense this week. So even if they shut them down, like we said, there is garbage time. Elijah Moore can still rack up some good amount of points, but they're only rostered in 18.5% of ESPN leagues and 29% of Yahoo leagues. So really sneaky addition. I think they could stay hot for a third straight week. They could possibly still fight for a wild card spot based on just how weird the AFC is and how weird the NFC is for that matter too. It's just very strange. So they're a good addition. I also want to throw out the Panthers there. We talked about this with Cam Newton. They're playing exceptional defense with a little bit more of a controlled offense as well. I think that defense just gets an added boost as well. They are rostered a little bit more, 48.9% of ESPN leagues and 30% of Yahoo leagues, but they have a good matchup against Washington. I think they should be able to handle that. So two good defenses on the waiver wire out there if you need to replace the Rams defense and or the Broncos defense. Bronco defense has been pretty good this year.
I have to correct myself because as soon as I was reading that, I made a mistake in my notes. I am picking the Eagles defense. I'm concerned about the Eagles defense going against the Saints. That's my concern.
Got it. Okay.
So they play. It's Eagles versus Saints. But honestly, are you really that confident in Trevor Siemian? Come on, he can screw up at any point. So Eagles at Saints, I'm a little concerned about that. But then they play divisional rival the Giants and then the Jets. So honestly, a pretty good 3-game stretch for a team that just put up 14 points against the Broncos.
Not bad. And then for kickers, if you need a kicker to replace Matt Gay and or Brandon McManus, Zane Gonzalez of the Panthers has scored 17 points.
Well.
He's scored 17 points in 2 of his last 3 games. He's rostered in 1.8% of ESPN leagues and 3% of Yahoo leagues. I'm also going to suggest Chris Boswell. He scored 28 points in 2 straight weeks now. He has a good game against the Chargers this week because if the Steelers are not going to play Ben Roethlisberger for a second straight week, Mason Rudolph, that offense, I don't know how far they're going to be able to go down the field. They may have to settle for a lot of field goals, which is where Chris Boswell could reap in the benefits, lots of points for you. Rostered in a few more leagues here, 48.3% of ESPN leagues and 56% of Yahoo leagues. So got a lot of information out there for you guys as we head into week 11. There's still a lot of,
We're going to get one of these videos under 30 minutes, people. We promise.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try. But yeah, we're here to help you out. Like I said, we're getting closer and closer to the fantasy postseason. We want to make sure we're helping you get into the playoffs, or if you're already on track to make the playoffs, help you obviously win a lot of games and get your fantasy title. So yeah, hit us up at all of our Twitter handles down below. You got my handle, I'm at Desai23. You got Tad's at TadDesai94. You got the show handle at The Desai Guys. Hit us up with, trade advice, stardom, situm, waiver wire additions, anything and everything. We're here to help you out to make sure that you're getting the best advice to help you win your championship league. And hey, to everybody who's tuning into the video, who's listening to the podcast, who's following us on Twitter, gave us a good rating. Just interact with us, anything and everything in between. We really just can't thank you guys enough.
Appreciate it, guys.